Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannigan along, Rohan Davey, Max Gotro, and Jordan Kitchens back in the studio. Jimmy been gone so long. I tried to have the imaging change. I couldn't get that done in time. I was gonna say Live at Lunch with Ro and Hanny instead of Odd and Hanny. It's been a minute.
He can't replace the man, baby.
Well, you know,
it does seem like he's been gone long, doesn't he?
You know why? Because he's been gone long.
He's been gone long. I miss
He's been gone. He's been gone. Hey, one of these years, we ought to just crash the vacation. We ought to just go.
Listen,
it's crossed my mind.
He's never given me an invite. You know why?
Because you take it. And whatever house he's written, you get the master bedroom.
All right. But I think that's just Jimmy time to get away, bro.
No, I know. I give him a hard time.
Yeah.
But he has been
out there in Del Mar and enjoying that California lifestyle. Listen, I envy him actually right now.
Well, okay, so where would you rather be? Would you rather be in Del Mar with Jimmy? Or would you be ready to start August drills if you were still playing right now, like LSU starting tomorrow?
I'll be ready to start August drills, baby.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would. Because you know why? Because you already had the chance to take the vacation as a player. You know what I mean? And then now it's like that itch is getting back to you, that you can smell the grass, you can smell the cleats, you can smell all the smells people don't like to smell, but you know football around the corner. So, yeah, I'm ready to take my physical. I'm ready to run I ain't ready to run a conditioning test. I was going to say, no, I ain't ready for that.
No, that's
I'm ready to go, baby.
I do remember even at the high school level that the smell of the grass was always you get out for that first morning practice, and then by the third day, it's like, how long till the first game?
Right.
But I get it. So LSU reports today. This is kind of the day we've been, waiting for, and then the first day they put the pads on. We do all that stuff. But they're getting back today, and it's been a summer of, for the headliners for LSU, for Brian Kelly and for Garrett Nussmeier, it's been a summer worth of expectations, and them not only not downplaying any of these expectations, but if anything, ramping them up. So getting everybody together in the same room, I expect that to start this thing off, there's going to be a unique energy in that building and on those fields here as we get started tomorrow.
I think that, man, you hit it exactly right on the head. I think that from the great offseason, and to say this, they've had a great offseason. You know what I mean? Like, Nuss has a great offseason, performed great at the Manning camp, looks in great shape. Kelly, the same thing. He's been a little bit more hands-on. He's been a little bit more personal. He's brought in his top-rated in the portal class. He's embraced the expectations and pointed out where exactly we need to get better and where he needs to get better. And he's, to his credit, he's addressed some of those things. You know what I mean? So the expectation and the feel from what these guys have brought in here through the portal, what they had coming back from last year, bringing back Nussmeier, adding all these pieces offensively. I mean, listen, only thing I believe I'm waiting to see is how the O and D line gel together and how those guys perform together. But other than that, I think they've embraced the expectations. They know Clemson's first up. They know they 0-3, 0-30, 0-whatever.
0-5.
Since Kelly's been
0-3
here.
with Kelly, 0-5.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that they want to erase that. And honestly, bro, I think they come in, just like you said, man, with a little swag about themselves.
Here's there's the part of the offseason that we know and we don't know. I wasn't on the practice fields with those guys when they were working the quarterbacks and the receivers. I wasn't in the weight room with them. I wasn't doing conditioning and all that stuff. Obviously, we don't get to watch any of that stuff in the summer, nor would I want to if they let us, okay? It's boring, okay? It's necessary, but it's not it's not anything that, you're going to glean a whole lot from watching, even some of the August camp stuff. But here's what I do know. It's been very quiet on the type of things that can derail an off season. For instance, there was very little turnover in the coaching staff. We had one departure with Bo Davis that was unexpected. They moved very quickly on that. Other than that, the coaching staff stayed static. Okay, the transfer portal stuff all happened very quickly. There was not a whole lot of activity. They picked up a couple of guys after the initial surge.
Correct.
But we didn't see this upheaval later in the spring or
when it
in the
reopened.
summer.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear. There was one apparently minor traffic accident with Nick Anderson. And other than that,
I saw nobody in trouble.
Stay out the metro section,
That's
man.
Right.
Nobody was at a bar and got in a fight. Yep. Nobody was. Okay, so when you do all of those things, you start off, to me, in a really good spot. You don't start out kind of playing defense against your record. Now, look, it doesn't always.
Less distractions.
It's distractions, and when you don't have them, the 03 team didn't have them.
Yep.
The 07 team didn't have them. Now, I'll give you one exception. The 11 team had about as big a distraction as you can get with that Shady's fight, and still managed to come out and win the SEC. So it doesn't necessarily take you out of everything. But, boy, it sure is nice when pretty much everybody's coming to camp healthy, and your staff is intact, and you haven't had to spend a whole summer explaining why somebody got arrested or why somebody had to get suspended or whatever. And it does seem like it was a long time ago when we would do these things and we'd say, man, how many guys going to be academically ineligible for the opener? They seem to have fixed that problem. So start with a fresh slate, and you start with a lot of optimism. So let's talk about Nussmeier here for a second. I think he's handled the off-the-field stuff pretty well. He had to go through in this offseason deciding whether or not he was going to go pro. Then his dad moves down, a whole lot closer to him down in New Orleans, so that was a good thing. And then he is in charge of running the quarterback's in charge of running the summer drills. He says that there's two things that, really wants to work on. Number one is obviously cutting down the every and number two is he wants to run a little bit more. Bro, you didn't do a lot of running, but every now and then. Necessary running. So talk to me about necessary running from a pocket quarterback, because that's what you were, but you could run when necessary.
Yeah, we're going to call this the necessary.
Necessary, all right.
Necessary.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see him run. I understand what he's saying by that. If he's speaking of keeping plays alive and not just being one-dimensional, being that pocket guy. And I understand him saying that because that's one of his critiques going into this year and then going into the NFL draft. And I don't think it was a hard choice by him coming back next year either. I think that for me personally, if I was him, I'd have came back. Yeah. You had 1 year. You hadn't had your 25 snaps yet, which is what the NFL barometer is, 25 snaps in college. Now you come
25
back.
starts.
25 starts, excuse me. 25 starts. And now he gets all that. And not only that, man, you get an opportunity to go try to win your national championship with a legit team. You know what I mean? With a squad that you have been blood, sweat, and tears with for 2 years. Well, longer than 2 years, but 2 years now that you've been at the helm. And that's special, bro. I can't say how wonderful it is as a quarterback when you wait your turn, right? And you go through all the BS and you go through all the trials and tribulations and you sit behind a guy, two guys that was wonderful, exceptional guys. You learn from that. And now I think that, bro, if Nuss stays healthy and these pieces that we put around him come to play and that O-line stays healthy, that's a lot of ifs. But, bro, I think he can have a really, really magical season because his IQ is off the charts, and it was already. But now that he's had that year under his belt, and you're going to see some of these defenses not as good as they were last year, and you're going to see some of these guys not as good as they were last year, but you are. It's going to take him over to that next step. So the running phase of it, maybe so, to keep some plays alive, to move around in the pocket, to get out on that perimeter a little bit and get the ball out your hands, but not running to where, we Jaden Daniels and
No, he'll
to
never
that
be
degree.
that.
Or even that often.
Yeah, what he needs to be is, and I'm not even expecting, Joe Burrow ran when he needed to.
Perfect
and
example.
It was there. And I think Burrow would, at times, would stick his head in there a little bit too much. You know, you kind of held your breath at times when he'd get hit. Something, he's not Jaden Daniels.
No,
gracious.
no.
Daniels is a special case.
That's right.
But if he could be something – like, say, give me 50% of Joe Burrow's running game, okay? Give me the running game where if you see these guys vacate the middle. There was a play against Southern Cal last year where they completely vacated the middle. And we didn't – I saw it a little bit during the game, but, boy, when we saw that wide cut, the end zone cut after the game, it's like, oh, man. They completely bailed out. If they're going to completely bail out and not respect you, that's all I want. And get down. If we saying it, how many times do you think the coach is going to say it? Hey,
get down, buddy.
Talk to me about Joe Sloan in his second year as a play caller.
Well, I think it's a very important year for Joe, honestly. I think that, going into last year and getting the him of calling the plays, I think he did a better than average job. I think going into this year, because Joe wants to be a head coach. You know what I mean? Joe wants to be a head coach. He has those aspirations. He's deserving of it when that time comes. But I think him going into his second year is just like a quarterback going into his second year. Now you have a greater understanding of what the pieces around you can do. Now I could get a lot more specific if I'm Joe Sloan and design certain plays on certain down and distances for certain guys. And I have a quarterback that's going to help. That helps him tremendously too by going into year two with a quarterback like a Nuss. Now these two could have this what we call this marriage, because the OC and the quarterback have to have this marriage together. And as long as those guys are on the same page, and and Joe most importantly understands what his quarterback likes in certain situations, what his quarterback likes to start the game. And this is all things that they talk about throughout the year, game plan and so on and so forth. But in certain situations, when it's time to make that play, that your guy totally understands every facet of it. Because you don't understand every play. You understand great quarterbacks about 90%, 95%. Might get to 100, but it's certain little intricacies of it that you may slip your mind. You have to know that he knows everything about that play. Where I'm going with my check, where I'm going to the ball, who I'm intended to get this ball to. I remember we was playing Ole Miss, and the whole week Jimbo kept designing this little outplay because they was in quarters coverage with Josh into the boundary all the time. And the first time, and we ran it the same play, same situation every time. The situation came up in the game, he called it. I went brain fart and went the other way. We got the first down with Michael Clayton, but Josh was open by 30 yards on that play.
What happened?
I got cursed out.
Well, no, I don't
mean.
We threw for the
first down.
But when you came to the line, you recognized it.
Yeah, I came up to the line, recognized it, saw it. I just had a brain fart.
Okay.
Just went the other way.
It happens.
Yeah, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Yeah. And we called that play, I think, 5 more times in that game, and we hit it every time. But it's just little things like that. So Jimbo knew that, and Sloan should know that about his guy, Yeah.
Here's where I give Sloan a little bit of a pass on some of the things that happened last year that didn't go their way. He went into the opening game. I have to think. I don't want to speak for the man, but I got to believe that he went into the opening game of last year thinking, I got a running game. I got a guy, is a relatively inexperienced as a starter quarterback. I got a running game. Yeah. I mean, when Will Campbell, who ended up being the 4th pick in the draft, comes out and says, we will run the ball, and they spent all of August telling, we will run the ball, and they got to the first game, and they couldn't run the ball. So it's like, okay, that's like that Mike Tyson. Everybody got to play until they get punched in the mouth. Right. Okay, well, guess what? Now your run game is a shell of what you thought it would be. It got a little bit better when they got Durham in the lineup. And of course, they had the injury in the first game, but they never established the run game last year that we thought going into the season that they would have. So I thought, okay, that's a hell of a curveball to get thrown when you don't have,
especially week 1.
When you can't throw your fastball for strikes, you got to go to plan B. So I thought the adjustment came over the course of the season, and then the Alabama and A&M second half of the A&M game that got away from him a little bit. But I think he'll be a lot better.
That's a good point you bring up with that curveball. So to now going into this year, to your point with that, now okay, that's not working. Well, just like any great offensive coordinator, and he's on his way to becoming one. I don't think he's there yet. Now, what do I have to counter that I know my guy does well?
Yeah.
Can we go no huddle right here? Can we go no huddle, get the back? Can we go tempo right here and get the ball out of his hand and make? Because Nuss it's gonna be a game where some games where Nuss, you're gonna have to put it on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Running game may not be working, but he's now to the point where he is in his career and his maturation and his IQ where you can put a no huddle in, and that could be a change of pace thing because you got these dynamic guys now.
And the first thing I would say to that is, you're talking about tempo. They get to this Clemson game, and they find out with this really good, really strong defensive front for Clemson that these young offensive linemen may struggle a little bit in pass protection. Are you going to do two things? Number one, where can you give help? And number two, how quick can you get the ball out of Nussmeier's hands? Those are, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but that's a good primer for what we're talking about with this offense. We're here at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Love it here. We are right outside the Oyster Bar Road where they were stacked up as soon as we got here. They're going to have the char grill going in a second. And on Tuesdays, starting at 5 o'clock, it's half off raw oysters and half off draft beer. That's every Tuesday from 5 until 9 here at Mike Anderson's. Great seafood selection. Daiquiri machines have been added behind the bar, so get you some frozen treats here at Mike Anderson's. And again, half off of raw oysters from 5 until 9 every Tuesday and half off of draft beer. Live at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Does your homeowners association require wood windows that either face the street or overall, you name it, facing the golf course, whatever it is, you need to call my friends over at Relief Windows. Because, when you're dealing with sort of construction, whether it's new construction or existing and remodeling and things like that, the builder wants things that are going to last. The architect wants things that are going to look good. We want things that are going to look good, they're functional, and they last, and that's what you get with the R-Last wood windows, gelled wind windows that come with a 20-year general warranty and lifetime limited warranty against rotten termites, providing you years of good-looking windows and minimal maintenance. That's what you get when you call Relief Windows. 288-8138. Yes, it's not Del Mar weather over here in South Louisiana. From the heat right now to the Cajun blizzard that we had this past winter. 288-8138 and ReliefWindows.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, the show is available on demand, 1045ESPN.com and LouisianaSports.net. Ro, I want to talk about the art of route running here with you for a second, because Trey Green is one of the more unique athletes that we've seen come through here. Basketball background, and, well, he looks like he could be a weapon. But the route running left something to be desired last year. And there were times, even in the bowl game especially, where he didn't run the right route, but he was still open because he's hard to cover. You worked with a guy, well, two of them actually, but I'm gonna talk about Josh Reed first. Josh Reed came here as a running back, and he had to transfer, move out to wide receiver and learn how to do a lot of things that he wasn't asked to do prior to that. And I think it's safe to say he got real good at it. Yeah. And Devery Henderson did too, who also came here as a running back. So talk to me about how these guys go about learning the art of route running when that's not really what they've done up to a certain point in their career.
Well, that's part of the point where I've talked about the offseason with LSU this offseason. I've seen Trey Dez, all those guys work out a bunch and put in extra time over at Elite Training Academy.
That's good to hear.
So it's so much Hanny, you got to understand, bro, I played a long time ago, right? We talk about Josh Reynolds line. So some of the things, even though Josh was a running back, it wasn't this, precise route running off season like these guys had now. You didn't have a coach emphasize, hey, you got to get to this depth, got to get to that depth, do. But what I like about what I've seen in the offseason for them is Nussmeier. And Nussmeier bringing those guys together. And Trey Dez, knowing he's not a great route runner, knowing that he's just a physical beast, right, that could run away from linebackers to go over the top of DBs. But they put in the work to get him, and he put in the work to get where he had to be to go into his second year. Because, you identify those things. It's like nuts. What can I get better at? I want to run. I want to be able to move around a little bit better. Same thing with Trey Dez. What can I get better at? I'm a terrible route runner. I need to get better at running routes, or I need to get better at knowing my plays, right? Knowing my plays so I know what route to run, right? So sometimes those guys have two-way goals, and you got a guy coming off a freshman coming in basketball, new position, new college, new this, like his head's spinning. So I expect it to slow down for him this year too. I expect it to slow down for him. I expect him to have a tremendous year. All those guys, the guy with the transfer we brought in from Oklahoma,
Nick Anderson.
I expect those guys to have really good, solid years and to be, you have a really, really good combination of big guys, fast, quick guys that could go up top, guys that could occupy the middle, guys that you could see potential mismatches with when you say, now, hey, we're just going to design a play and go get the mismatch. So running a route, the art of running a skillful route, listen, I haven't seen anybody do it better than Justin Jefferson. That's way up here, and that's where Trey Dez should be trying to get and try to watch a guy like him. No, I know they're different body types, so on and so forth, but just understand the biggest thing, man, is getting that guy off the spot. So if the play's at 12 yards and it's designed for you to break it at 12 yards, well, if that guy's sitting at 12, you can't break. You got to take 2 more steps, push him, and turn him. So that's one of the biggest things that we try to emphasize with all the guys when we talk about the art of running a route. And also, if I'm stemming on meshing, got to make it look the same, right? I got to make it look the same. I can't come off the ball laissez-faire, come off the ball all slow, because what? That's a run. That's initially, that's a run. So I come off just the same pace, same tempo, faster, let them think that everything looks alike. You can't just, when you look at a guy run a route, you should not be able to tell if it's a run play or a pass play from what that receiver is doing, because he's not coming off slow, looking in the backfield and peeking around. He's coming off with a purpose and an intention, just like he would if he knew it was a pass play and he was getting the football. And that's one of the things the young guys have to learn. Anderson does it great. He's great.
When you get to the summer and you're working on all of these route concepts, okay, you're running a lot of them against air.
Yep.
So now the reading of the defense that comes into it, in my head, never run a route on a college field in my life, bro. I just got to think that the reading of the defense on the spot is a lot harder than the actual route. You can tell anybody go to 12 yards and
Correct.
and make you cut.
Correct.
But when you got to read that guy and know when to cut, so these guys have spent a lot of time this summer working against air. Okay, get your work in.
And each other.
And
they get one-on-ones.
But now
and they get the OTAs, and they also simulate the 7-on-7 concept. So that's why I say, like, we didn't do all that when I was here. We didn't do all that. And the simulation theater that they have over there, it's so much that they have at their disposal, bro, where there's no excuse. There's no damn excuse for why we don't get better now. Yeah. You got a $1 million piece of equipment over there that's only at 3 other colleges in the United States. Take advantage of it. You know what I mean? So it's just all those little things that I've seen from them. And, bro, I'm excited to see what they do. I'm telling you.
You put that helmet on over there, the simulation helmet.
Yep.
All right. Give us an idea. None of us we've heard about this equipment, but give me an idea.
It on. It's just like anybody else when you're playing a game with the
just
thing.
A video game.
Yeah, it's like you're playing a game and you punch up there. Alabama prevent defense or whatever it is that you may want to see. And you see the rotations. If you want cover 3 cloud, which is safety getting over the top, cloud on one side or another, you may have a Jamar Chase out wide to your right, their left, my right, and they're clouding to my right, their left, because nobody want to stay one-on-one with Jamar Chase. So you could punch that in and you see it. Alabama's cloud, Alabama's 4-3, Alabama's prevent. What do they do in 2 minutes? And you see the rotation from the guys and where they're going to be in certain spots. And I mean, hell, that's the cheat code.
You positive on that number that only 44 schools have got this thing?
No, I'm not positive.
Okay, because to me, this is the first $1 million I'm spending in my.
A lot of them don't, though. A lot of them don't.
Look, before I'm buying chicken for the cafeteria, I'm buying.
I know
this
at one
thing.
time it was Oregon and us.
Yeah. I know Jack Marucci was instrumental in recommending this stuff, and to me,
the Redskins didn't get until Jaden got there.
Right.
So
that's
I'm just saying, that's exactly right.
Right. I'm buying this first. Okay, but before I pay a coach,
coach.
before I do anything, I'm buying this piece of equipment.
I'm right there with you.
This allows me for every coach I've ever heard talks about reps and quality reps and how many more reps can I get in. And they're doing this down at Saints camp right now. Kellen Moore's got them working on 2 fields so they can maximize the reps. This is unlimited reps, and all you got to do is $1 million.
That's it.
Get 2.
That's right. That's nothing. That's
We're
right.
brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Mike Goff and his staff done a great job for our family. If you've had back pain, neck pain, things that are flaring up, old injuries, maybe you were in a car accident. Sometimes you just get a little bit older. Things don't operate quite as well as they used to. Let them get you into a program that will allow you to loosen some things up, get you to feeling better, get you to feeling more like yourself. It's worked for us. And we urge you to do the same thing, whether it's an exercise and stretching program or dry needling, electric nerve stimulation, cryo, ultrasound therapy. They'll tailor-make something that will work for you. Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. We continue here at Mike Anderson's. We return. Go out to Las Vegas, talk to Andy Isco, get some college football win totals that we want to discuss with him. That's next here live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget about friends over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace, and then Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine. The Go Automotive Group, my buddy Lee Carney and the great team over there. Man, the Silverado trucks, the Colorado trucks are outstanding. How about the SUVs? Ultra popular Tahoes and Suburbans. I got the Trailblazers, the Blazers, the Traverse Equinoxes as well. Some of our cars like the Corvette, Camaro, and Malibu. We've got electric vehicles as well. Take the short drive over to Laplace like I did, and I don't just talk about the vehicles from Go Chevrolet. I drive a Chevy Tahoe that I got from Lee Carney over at Go Chevrolet. My buddy Lee, go check him out over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace.
Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
And return here at Mike Anderson's, along with Rohan Davey and Max Gotro. I'm Charles Handegriff, and Andy Isco joins us. Andy, good morning. How are you?
I am fine. What better way to celebrate my birthday than to be with you wonderful
people?
Happy birthday, Andy.
Well, thank you. It's my second celebration of the day. However, my first was my dermatology appointment at 7:45 this morning.
Well, I hope your day improves from there. Nobody wants to go sit in the waiting room.
It wasn't bad. I got a nice celebration last night. The pizza place I went to made me a cannoli.
Well, hey, look, that's a good start. There's a little buzz here today. Because LSU reports, and we finally can see football season from where we are. It's a long camp, it's a long August, but hey, they get here today and we get going. So we were going to talk a little bit about kind of first impressions of starting camp for the colleges, all of them getting in there this week, and maybe some win totals as we start to work on, or continue to work on getting to the regular season. So national championship odds to make the playoffs odds, over-unders on win totals. First impressions today on the first day of camp.
Well,
really.
the first thing that I noticed, and of course these totals have been out for a while, is this is the first time probably in a decade that the total for Georgia is under 10. Mm-hmm. I think I saw them at 9.5. So I'm trying to find what 3 games. I see 2 losable games on their schedule, but I don't know that I could find 3. And I know that there's some talk about quarterback and all that, but Kirby Smart now has become up there in the elite group of coaches, considering what he's done. First of all, what he did at Alabama, and then, of course, what he's done since he's been out on his own, where he's always been in the playoff and championship picture. So I'm not concerned about having to replace. Of course, the major concern that everybody has these days, you used to build, and the guy would be in his sophomore year, he'd learn, he'd play a little bit in his junior year, and then he'd be the full-time starter in his senior year as the previous starters graduated or left the program. And, of course, you don't really have that progression anymore because of the transfer portal. So the challenge now is for, there are two types of recruiting. There's recruiting players with experience because they're playing for other programs, and then, of course, there's the recruiting of high school talent. And we're starting to see more and more breakdowns of the two types of recruiting as far as what the colleges do. And, of course, the programs that have always been at the top of the recruiting, the normal recruiting, or historical recruiting, also happen to be extremely doing well in the recruiting in the transfer portal. The only thing is that when you recruit in the transfer portal, you're basically recruiting for most likely one season.
I'm with you on Georgia. It's heavily juiced when you're going over 9.5. I'm looking at. I'm not sure what number you got. I'm looking at minus 190 for that.
That's why I'm waiting for it to go up to 10. And I'm willing. Obviously you want to win, but you don't want to lose. So if I have to go over 10, that's important because you only play 12 regular season games. But I'd rather settle for a push, with the possibility that they could still go over, rather than have to lay that heavy big and get one extra number that can win for me.
Andy, I don't see a game.
If it's minus 140, then I'm not concerned about that. Then I'll lay the 140 at 9.5.
Yeah, they flipped the schedules from last. They flipped the schedules from last year in the SEC, so that those three tough road games last year that Georgia had on the schedule are all in Athens. Kirby Smart's lost one game in Athens since 2000. I think it's since 2018. They've lost one game. So I don't know that there is a game. They're not going to be an underdog at home. And I can't imagine that they're going to be – their toughest road game is at Tennessee. And unless Tennessee, finds a quarterback between now and that game's in week 3, they're not going to be an underdog even in Knoxville. So it doesn't guarantee anything, but is there a game that you think that they could be an underdog in?
Well, I don't have the schedule in front of me right now, but where are the other two road games you're looking at? Because I would think Tennessee,
Auburn and Mississippi State. Auburn and Mississippi State. Yeah, so
they'll be double-digit favorites in both of those.
Yeah. Now, last year, I think this was a one-off, but Georgia Tech gave them all they wanted in the finale, and that game's going to be in Atlanta this year.
Was that the 8 overtime game because everyone kept missing 2-point conversions?
Yeah, they were at it forever, and that game's going to be at a neutral site, sort of a neutral site. It's going to be it's going to be in Atlanta, but. No, that wasn't the one that went 8 overtimes. I'm sorry, it was. That was the one that went 8 overtimes, and they went overtime.
That was the one that Georgia Tech led most of the game, as I recall.
They did. They did.
And Georgia had to force the overtime.
Georgia Tech ended up making money out of that game because the ACC changed their revenue distribution to go with TV ratings when Florida State and Clemson complained, and Georgia Tech ended up being the biggest recipient out of it because of that game and because they opened the season in Ireland, and that was, or was it Ireland or wherever it was in Europe? Yeah,
I think it was Ireland. Yeah, that's the game against when they upset Florida State.
Yeah, so everybody was watching that game because it was the only one on, and then everybody was watching that game against Georgia because they almost pulled the upset. All right, Georgia, you're waiting on them to get to 10. What else in the Southeastern Conference maybe as we get started here?
Where's Mississippi? What's their number?
Ole Miss's number is, I got it right here. I want to say it was 8.5, and I'm looking for. I'll get it for you here in a second. I got multiple windows.
It's probably under O for Ole Miss.
Yeah. I got it. It is. Well, now it just disappeared on me.
No.
But anyway, Ole Miss. Let me look this up.
I'm looking for somewhat of a decline. When you lose a quarterback like Jackson Dart, who's obviously impressing the folks in New York with his camp for the Giants, this is going to take a little bit of a rebuild. And Lane Kiffin's a really, really good college coach, and I'm sure he'll get the team playing well. But I think when you have the kind of season that they had last year, they're in a lot of revenge games this year with much less with not quite as much talent as they had.
It's 9. I said 8.5. It is actually 9. I'm big on Austin Simmons. I like what I saw out of him to replace Jackson Dart. It was a limited sample size, but it was very impressive what he did. The road games, there'll be an underdog at Georgia. I don't know if there'll be an underdog at Oklahoma. That game's not till the end of October. That depends on how Mateer looks and how Simmons looks. I'm not ready to call out one yet.
A lot of people like Oklahoma this year. I'm undecided on them right now, but I'm not a big fan of Venables as a head coach. Sometimes you find your level and you stick with it, and he was an outstanding defensive coordinator. I don't know how bare Lincoln Riley left the cupboard for him. I've not been impressed with Lincoln Riley and what he's done at USC so far. Maybe there's something endemic with the Oklahoma program that is finally catching up to them. But I think a lot of people are very optimistic about Oklahoma. And I guess there's reason to be, much like with Texas, although Texas came into the SEC with a load of talent. But, this is their second year through the SEC. It's a tough conference, tough venues. Now, of course, they're not going to play at most of the same venues, but they're familiar with the SEC environment that they did not see very often in the Big 12.
I'm not over the moon about Venables either. The other thing Texas got was the much more favorable schedule out of the two. There's toss-up games on Oklahoma's schedule that right now I think are very difficult to pick based on we don't know how well Mateer's game will translate from Washington State to Oklahoma. For instance, I think Oklahoma at Tennessee, well, I don't know who's playing quarterback, how good the quarterback play will be for either one of those teams. When
is that game?
That game is that's the beginning of November, so we'll know by that time.
Well, we'll know a lot by both teams.
I'll give you one, Andy. Oklahoma, Michigan is in week 2.
And where's that one?
And that is that's September the 6th. Max,
2, 2.5 is the spread in that. Oklahoma's favored slightly at home.
At home against Michigan, so that's a complete toss-up game.
That will be a good telltale for the progress of the Oklahoma program. Michigan is still a good team, but it's a tough environment when you go down to Oklahoma. Of course, Michigan's not unaccustomed to playing in tough environments because they host one of the tough environments in the Big House. But I'm looking at the talent level at the two teams, and I think Oklahoma can match up nicely there. So I would expect a good performance in the lines makers, and maybe they're doing it because at 2.5, you're almost saying Michigan would be a very, very slight favorite on a neutral field. So you're basically saying it's essentially pretty much of a pick-em game. But if you're laying 2.5, the edge, even though playing at home, is to Oklahoma. So I would expect if Oklahoma gets a nice win, 7 to 10 points or something against what should be a nice physical Michigan team, physical, the key word in the Big Ten, that would be an encouraging sign for Oklahoma. But yeah, there's still a lot to be proven throughout September.
I think there's toss-up games all over the Oklahoma schedule. Auburn at home, they'll face their former quarterback, Jackson Arnold, most likely in that one. They go to South Carolina in the middle of October. I like Lenore Sellers, but let's see what kind of shape Carolina's defense is in at that point. The Ole Miss game that we talked about, they go to Tennessee. I don't know that any of those spreads are going to be outside of, say, 5 or 6 points. If we're picking them right now, and then LSU at the end of the season comes in for the final game of the. Next
week I will have. If you don't have them, Westgate put out their college games of the year where they highlight 4 to 6 games each Saturday, and I haven't had a chance to look at it because I just picked them up yesterday. But I'll have a good idea on some of those thoughts because you can still make wagers on those games. Not the same limits that you can when you're game week, but you can still make some advanced wagers if you spot teams that you think are undervalued or overvalued, and you anticipate that if things go according to plan, no quarterback losses for the season as far as injuries, that you'll be able to get maybe a 6-7 point middle between now and game time, especially if those games are October 1st or later.
The other team I wanted to ask you about is Alabama, because their total is the same as Georgia, although the juice is drastically different on 9.5. You're only laying, I'm looking at 127 right now. But Alabama's got the same problem that a lot of these teams we're talking about, which is an unproven quarterback, and how good will Ty Simpson be. And they've got 2 games. I think I know they'll be favored in both of them, but whether they'll win them or not, against non-conference power conference teams. They play at Florida State to open, and then they get Wisconsin in week 3. So that's not the typical Akron, Mercer, Middle Tennessee start you see to a lot of these things. Those are 2 games that could give them trouble.
November.
It
could, but just based on the talent between the programs, Florida State, they've been a disappointing team the last few years. And the coach's job, I think, is on the line this year. This will be a good test. I think talent-wise, Alabama does have the advantage. I like the coaching edge, and we knew that there were going to be issues transitioning from Saban last year, and the new coach still has still has some recruiting to do. But on talent and coaching, I would prefer Alabama to win that road game, and then the other game you mentioned is the Wisconsin game, and Luke Fickell just does not seem to be a good fit. I think we may have talked about that before with Wisconsin. They've built their program on the offensive line and the running game, and Luke Fickell did not seem to take that approach last year. And this Wisconsin still may be in a rebuilding program. Now, Wisconsin for many, many years. I mean, you can go back a few decades and remember what a horrible program. The team. They were battling Northwestern for the cellar for a number of years. But probably for the last 25 years or so, Wisconsin has been, if not an elite, just behind elite program. And they seem to be regressing a little bit. They are picked, I think, in the bottom third of the Big Ten by most of the voters who voted for the Big Ten poll a week or so ago. So I'd be a little bit concerned. When is that Wisconsin game?
Week 3.
Yeah, I have to. Where's that? Wisconsin?
No. They went to Wisconsin last year. That's back in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I would have to think Alabama will win that. What's the spread on that game? Have they said what it is?
I just know 13.5 against Florida State in the opener. Nothing on Wisconsin.
I would say it would probably be more, probably somewhere around 2 touchdowns or more.
I would say because I think Florida State, despite everything, despite members given, they're still a more talented team than Wisconsin.
Unless they were to lose to Florida State, that would change things. I'm surprised Fickell hasn't done better there. Andy, we appreciate it. Next week we'll talk a little bit more as we get into the first preseason games in the NFL, and we're getting closer to that big week in Las Vegas.
2 nights from now. 2 nights from now we got the Hall of Fame game.
We sure do.
We got the fourth stringers of the Chargers against the fourth stringers of the Lions, I believe it is.
Hey, it's football in uniform.
Thanks,
Andy. We appreciate it. Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Have a great week.
We appreciate it. We'll take a break here live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You remember the fabulous Snapping Ferguson brothers that came to LSU, been in the league a while. They went to Buford High School in Georgia. They opened a new football stadium today, Ro. 10,000 seats, 15 luxury suites. Yeah, it's a high school. 3,500 square foot video scoreboard.
Damn.
2-story field house with locker rooms. Cost, you ready for this? $62 million.
How much they paying their head coach?
I don't know, but that's a high school ball. $62 million.
Live at Lunch. Live at Lunch. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And we return here at Mike Anderson's, Wesley Ed Nicholson, along with Rohan Davey and Max Gotro, Charles Hannegriff, here at Mike Anderson's, where tonight and every Tuesday night it's half off raw oysters and half off draft beer, starting at 5 o'clock and going until 9. That's right here, again, Wesley at Nicholson. All right, first class. Man, the last week and a half, Max is getting tired of hearing me say this because he's not a child of the 80s, but I was. And we have lost some of the most influential people in the sports world and the entertainment world just here in the last week to 10 days. And we lost another one yesterday in Ryan Sandberg. You want to talk about first class. A Hall of Famer, one of the best second basemen to ever play, an MVP, a guy who did some things that no other second baseman ever did in terms of back-to-back 30 home run seasons, hit 40 home runs in a season. They still talk about the Sandberg game where they beat the Cardinals one year. I think it was 12-10, and Sandberg had 7 RBIs in the game. He won the home run derby one year, and as a second baseman, man, he won 9 Gold Gloves. He still holds the record for most consecutive games at second base without an error, and that's the on-the-field stuff. The off-the-field stuff was this, Ro. If you were somebody who wanted to watch baseball in the 80s on TV every day. And look, this is before we had 900 channels, no internet. I like to watch baseball. I watched probably multiple innings of baseball, not every day, but just about every day in the 80s. If the Braves were on WTBS, I watched them. If the Cubs were on WGN, I watched. I didn't watch all of every game, but I watched a lot. And there's a pretty good chance if you were like me and you wanted to watch a lot of baseball in the 80s on TV, not just a game of the week on Saturday, your favorite player was either, if you watched WTBS, your favorite player was Dale Murphy of the Braves. Or if you watched the Cubs, your favorite player was Ryan Sandberg. He was somebody who you made it a point to watch. He was that good.
Yeah.
And the way he carried himself, he was beloved in Chicago. And listen, the Cubs were entertaining. They didn't always win. Jimmy will have something to say on this, I know, when he gets back because he's been a Cubs fan for his whole life. But, that 84 team that took a 2-0 lead in the NLCS and couldn't get home, the Cubs hadn't been to the playoffs since the 40s when they did that. I mean, the excitement level there, and it still took them, another 40 to win a World Series. But Rhino was the best player. And listen, those Cubs teams had players that made the Hall of Fame, okay? Andre Dawson was the MVP in '87. He made the Hall of Fame. I love the Hawk, okay?
That was my guy.
But now, this is what I think. When I think about Andre Dawson, I think about his time in Montreal. Even though his one season, not his one season, but his MVP season was in Chicago. But I think of Dawson as an Expo. Greg Maddux started his career in Chicago, but I think of Greg Maddux as a Brave, okay? Lee Smith. The great Lee Smith, we had a chance to meet him. Roger Cador had a clinic here years ago, and Lee Smith came on and did a spot with us. Lee Smith was on some of those Cubs teams in the 80s, but Lee Smith pitched for probably 10 teams. Rhino was a Cub. He spent 2 weeks with the Phillies when he got up, and then I think he did half a season with him at the end of his career. He was a Cub, okay? Ernie Banks is the most popular Cub of all time. Sandberg is right there with him, and if you're of our age, Sandberg was your guy.
I remember Sandberg, man. I remember Sandberg when I was in the baseball. Ryan Sandberg was a hell of a player, hell of a second baseman.
He was
clutch. Is the thing that I remember most about him is clutch, and it was his teammates always had the utmost respect and the greatest things to say about him, and that's some of the things that I remember about Ryan Sandberg. Not granted, I ain't seen him a lot.
Yeah, and I didn't get WGN where we lived, rural part of Louisiana. We did not get WGN, so I didn't get to see him play every day like that till I got to college in the late '80s. But I watched a lot of those games way too soon, man. 65 is just too young, and we lost Ryan Sandberg. But he was first class all the way. Second class, good with a chance to be great. All right, I'm just looking. I'm trying to pick things, Max, in Saints camp. Little positives here and there. Let's call it baby steps. All right, I'm not I'm not delusional enough to think that they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I'm just looking for things here and there. My first week of camp guy that I'm hopeful for is Danny Stutzman, okay, out of Oklahoma. Played 4 years at Oklahoma, 4-year starter, 184 solo tackles, 192 assists, 8 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 3 INTs. For a lot of his career there, he was an every down linebacker. The Saints have Demario Davis, who has been a fantastic player for them, but is nearing the end of his tenure. And Pete Werner, who has had a tough time staying healthy. Could Danny Stutzman, he's going to make this team. He's a 4th-round pick, but he's going to make this team. You watch, some of the Saints camp stuff, and you follow everybody. Stutzman's got a little buzz, okay? Little buzz, okay? Like a beer and a half buzz, okay? Yeah. Just a little bit of buzz here early in camp.
Nonetheless.
Yeah.
He's being talked about for sure. Early impact players for the rookies. And this is a guy that I think we all kind of liked when the Saints drafted him. He's had over 100 tackles in his last 3 seasons at Oklahoma. Just has great instincts, always found a way to find the ball for whatever reason. And maybe not the most athletic-looking guy. Sometimes he'll take the brunt of some of his tackles, but he could be an impact player for them this season. I think he'll be a meaningful part of the defense in some capacity, at least this year.
So I'm hopeful. Again, I'm just trying to pick out players that didn't cost them a bunch of money or didn't cost them a premium draft choice, because you only get so many of those guys. If you're going to build a good roster, you got to be able to find players in those middle rounds. You got to be able to find those free agents that don't cost you a multi-year contract near the top of the pay scale.
Right.
You got to be able to find these guys. That's
exactly
Baltimore Ravens always have a good roster.
Because of their damn front office.
The front office, okay? From the time they moved to Baltimore and Ozzie Newsome was running things.
That's exactly right.
And then they moved it over. I mean, Ozzie put together the draft. He drafted 2 Hall of Famers in the first round with Ogden and Ray Lewis. Okay, but they always get those guys, okay?
They do. They great scouting department. Same thing with Kansas City. Kansas City does a good job. When I was with New England did a phenomenal job up there. And even them bringing in guys that you thought was done but created roles for them. You know what I mean?
Get one more year out of a vet. So
I mean, Randy Moss had his greatest year in New England.
He did. He did. What's it? 18 touchdown catches. I think it was something like that. Yeah, they were real good right up to the last game. So I'm trying to find some guy. Maybe Stutzman is one of those guys.
And but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say these are the guys the Saints have to develop.
Yes,
like they're not in a period to where they're contending. So you might as well find all
Quincy
of your
Riley's another
young
one.
players.
That's exactly right. That's what I was just about to say. Or especially with all their doggone issues with money, cap issues, what they haven't been doing. The perfect antidote for that is for you to these guys that you guys are talking about, like you pointed out, develop them and turn them into players. The one thing you know is this: they can play football. You know what I mean? It ain't like they just can't play football. Sure. Forgot the linebacker that the Saints had, and he went to Philly last year.
Zach Bond.
That's what I'm saying. Develop, and he turned phenomenal.
Right.
You know what I mean? So develop a man and find those 5-6 guys that you ain't got to give them a bunch of money at the beginning. You can save some money, give somebody else, but the Saints need to get back to developing.
No argument at all. All right, no class. This week, Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, continued his tour of Major League Baseball clubhouses, talking about the labor issue because the CBA expires next December. They've been talking about this CBA's expiration date since the last one was signed in 22, mostly because it feels like this is the time the owners are going to dig in and finally get a salary cap, or they're going to lock them out for the entire 27 season. Now, look, this meeting in Philadelphia did not go well. Manfred and Bryce Harper, their star, went toe-to-toe. Harper told him to get the F out of our clubhouse, and Manfred said, I ain't effing going anywhere. This is baseball negotiations, okay? I love baseball. I've always loved baseball. But going back to my time watching the sport, to the strike in '81 that divided the season, to canceling the World Series in 1994, to the countless work stoppages that they've had just in my lifetime watching this thing, this is how Major League Baseball and the Players Association typically get along with each other. They stay there and they scream F you at each other until they really do some damage to the sport. They did a ton of damage in '81. They did even more damage in '94. A lot of people friends of mine that I watched baseball with were like, you know what, they lost me in '94. When they canceled the World Series, when they denied Tony Gwynn a real shot at 400, Tony Gwynn was hitting 390 when they shut the season down, boss. He might have got there. When they shut those things down, Matt Williams was chasing 60 home runs that year. When they shut all of that stuff down, they did huge harm to the sport. When we were coming back from COVID, there was an opportunity to start the Major League Baseball season a good 6 to 8 weeks before they finally got it done because they couldn't agree on money. They've had more work stoppages in my lifetime than the other three major sports combined, and they still don't get it. There's not a, hey, listen, I respectfully disagree, or hey, there's some room to maneuver here, and I'm not going to get into the whole dynamics of the salary cap and all that. That's been debated from here to the moon. All I know is that here we are, a year and a half out from the expiration of these things, and their negotiating posture is F you. Not good. And Manfred is not well liked
he's not
at all. And Harper's a hothead. Okay, he's a great player, but he's a hothead. He's always been a hothead. These are not the two guys you need talking to each other.
They're going to have to bring in a third party.
They're going to have to bring in more third. You ever get involved with union stuff when you're in the league?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't that high up on the food chain.
The player rep got a lot of pressure on him, though.
He does, and the player rep usually is one of the guys that's respected by the rest of the guys because you vote on who that is. But, man, at the end of the day, if you have guys in there that don't have the same agenda, right, that don't have pushing the league forward but also the safety of the players, because players run the league. I don't care what sport you're in, if it's baseball, basketball, football, whatever it is. The players are who the fans are coming to see. And the problem gets in where you have these guys, the money guys, the owners, some of these guys that you elect as the representative of whether it's the NFLPA, NBA, baseball, or represent the players, they get in there and their ego get in the way because they get in there and they forget and lose focus of what the agenda is. And now instead of you fighting and advocating for the players, whether the topic is safety, money, I know in the NFL the big thing was the concussion at the time, and these owners are in there fighting because they don't want to give up no money. They don't want to give. They want to give the least amount possible.
And I don't know the salary cap is going to get there or not get there. They've done revenue sharing. My question to both of them would be this: If I'm not glued, I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so the closest major league team is the Astros. I'm not necessarily an Astros fan. I just want to be a baseball fan. But if I'm a baseball, how can I be a Pittsburgh Pirates fan? How can I be a Miami Marlins fan? How can I be a Colorado Rockies fan? As bad as things are with the Saints right now, roster-wise, Ro, I know that in a year or two, you can turn the whole thing around. I've seen it happen. There's a worst-to-first team in the NFL, division-wise, pretty much every year, okay? So I know if things are really bad, they can get better. The Pelicans, bad as things are right now, I know if they ever get things together, there's an opportunity. I watched Oklahoma City, a small market, build it from the ground. I know there's a possibility. I don't feel like there's a possibility in Major League Baseball. Let's say I'm a Pirates fan. Okay, well, and I got Paul Skeens, okay, this once-in-a-generation talent, okay, who falls in my lap because I can't go out and buy a free agent that's worth a damn. Nobody's going to go to Pittsburgh because the owner doesn't spend any money. And so I have to get these guys through the draft. I get this guy. I get the number one pick the year this guy's coming out. And he's been in my organization for all of what, Max, 15 months? And half the time they're talking about, well, when are the Pirates going to trade him or when is he going to leave? What do I have? And it's like that I'm just using that market.
I agree.
What hope do I have?
I agree.
What hope do I have?
To your point, you know who are Miami fans and Pittsburgh fans? the LSU fans that like Paul, that like Skis, that like the boogeyman. Guys like me that was born in Miami and you still – that's it. A guy like – listen, the boogeyman fall into your lap. This is where you have to, as an organization, say, you know what? I know what we're used to not doing, but with this opportunity where
Here's
I got this is my chance.
Yeah.
How can I maximize the boogeyman? How can I put guys around him offensively, even if I got to go out and shell out some extra cash or whatever it may be, and I got the room for it. Granted, I got to have the room for it, but how can I maximize having this guy as a Pittsburgh Pirate? That's all I would be worried about.
You brought the Chiefs up, okay? They drafted Pat Mahomes, okay? They've won 3 Super Bowls, and you know the last before Mahomes got there in 2017, I think was his rookie year. You know the last time Chiefs made the Super Bowl before that? 1970, okay, or 71, something like that. Super Bowl 4 in New Orleans, but they found Patrick Mahomes, and they're like, okay, now
that's right.
We're going to go put the pieces.
Let's take our chance.
I'm not overly optimistic about where the baseball negotiations
I will just say, I mean, people forget the NFLPA's had their black eye recently. You know, without an executive director.
That's what I was talking about. Yes.
I mean, they need better leadership.
No doubt.
You feel for the players.
No doubt.
The MLBPA is also currently under federal investigation for some of their business dealings. So this is an NFLPA and an MLBPA.
You can't work for the union and the owners.
That was to my point. It gets crossed. It gets crossed.
You lose all faith in them.
It gets crossed. If the owners are paying you, who are you loyal to if you're representing the players?
And they've had multiple resignations because of that. First class, second class, no class, brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Look, we're talking about football, coming up, so you got to be talking about tailgating. If you're going tailgating, get your jambalaya, get your white beans, get your red beans, get your crawfish etouffee, make it with Supreme Rice. Support our Louisiana farmers down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. You can get Supreme Rice wherever you buy rice, all your Rouses, all of your Walmarts, all of your AG food stores, in the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, the jasmine, or Jimmy's favorite, the parboiled rice, restaurant quality rice, served up hot and fresh. And they're part of the Climate Smart program. Future generations of Louisiana farmers will be able to reap the benefits as they reduce methane emissions and promote water conservation. For more information and great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com. We're going to get back on LSU, get Rose thoughts on some of the defensive things as LSU reports today and starts camp tomorrow. Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. Our great team at United Community Bank, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Prentice Wilkes, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you're a partner. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Today's show also brought to you in part by the Thibodaux Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, open till 5:30 daily. You know, we tell you all the time about the products. What about the services at the Thibodaux Store? Window screen and all of your screen door repair, key cutting and duplication, paint matching, small engine repairs are available there, carpet cleaner rental, propane refills, propane tank exchange, glass cutting, all of them available at the Thibodaux Store. You know, and if you're going down fishing, going down to the coast, stop by at the Thibodaux Store. They've got a huge selection of fishing gear that you can get on your way down to the coast. You're looking for lumber. The Pierre Part Store offers delivery out of that location. Been in business for 113 years. For more information, you can get online at thethibodeaustore.com for all of your outdoor grills and griddles, all the way up to your big green egg cookers as well, power tools and hand tools and expert advice. It is the Thibodaux Store, thethibodeaustore.com. Ro, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball and some of the questions there. Give me a number here. Since he announced that he was coming back, how many times have you heard the name Harold Perkins? Because for me, it's not very
Not
many.
a lot.
No, that's
not
kinda,
a lot.
It's been a very quiet off season, and
Not
again,
a
quiet a lot of times is good. Rehab apparently has gone well.
Yep.
He is ready to go for the beginning of camp now. We've done this drill for 3 years. Where is Harold Perkins going to play, and what is his role going to be? We went from on the as a freshman, was trying to play the same position as B.J. Ojulari, so he was getting spot duty, and he really stood out as a pass rusher. So they were, we thought they were going to do that. Well, and they moved him into the middle. Well, that was a mistake. That didn't work out. So last year the plan was that they were going to move him around a bunch and kind of be a wildcat type deal. You never knew where he was going to line up. Problem with that was not only did the defense not know where he was lining up, a lot of times, him and his teammates, we saw busted assignments based on the fact that they were moving him around a lot, things that kind of complicated. So we know this guy is a talent. And I know he's happy to be here, Ro, because he's had multiple chances to leave. He has been, we know, transfer portal courted.
Oh yeah,
okay?
he's been highly sought
and
off.
he could have gone pro. Now his stock was down because of the injury, but he could have gone pro. He's back here because he wants to be. This is his money year. Where you gonna put him?
Well, I think what you have to look at now is the addition of a Weeks, right?
So Weeks is your inside guy.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So you have him coming in. Harold being not healthy last year gave them a lot to see from the other guys. And I think Weeks is going to be one that fills the middle. Now, whether or not he's your outside backer.
Now he's going to play the star.
Right?
We know what
On
position
each side.
he's listed at, but what does that mean?
Now on special situations, you put him down a rush. I think you use him just similar as you use a Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. I think that when it comes to his Harold Perkins' first step off that line and his bendability, now we're going to have to see. I've seen him in the offseason like I have most of these guys, and he looks totally healthy, totally back. Doesn't look like there's any restrictions. I'm sure they're going to slow him down a little bit, especially at the beginning of camp to make sure everyone is healthy.
You saw him recently?
Yeah, I have.
In person?
I have.
What do you think he weighs?
I would say probably about 225.
Okay,
230,
that's about where he's been. I was wondering if he was any bigger.
He looks like he's put on more muscle, but muscle wear a little bit more. So I think he's somewhere around there. But I'm and listen, with our defensive coordinator, I think he's a good defensive coordinator. I think he has a lot of pieces, and I think he's going to utilize Perkins to the utmost, and definitely in those special situations. There's no way, especially if what we've brought now. It also contingent upon how are these ends playing that we have, the guy we brought in from state. How are we getting off the ball as far as edge rushers? How are we doing there? I think if you're getting work from either one of those guys and now you add Perkins on the other side in special situations, I think you have a heck of a combo there. But it's still all yet to be seen. But his main position is, like you say, outside star, right? The problem with him playing that outside star position is a lot of people are going to put pressure on him to cover. Yeah. And that's the part about his game that I don't really see right now, is that just that ability. Now, if you have this big time DB outside of you and you're playing on the same side of him, that helps you a little bit more. But he's going to be flip flopping, right? So if I'm an offensive guy, the first thing I'm trying to see when I get in those situations is to take him out, because you want to nullify him. And the best way to do that is go either 3-by-1, 2-by-2, and force him out there to cover.
If he is a liability in coverage, it's going to be more difficult. It's going to be more difficult to disguise him as a rusher. So our deal has kind of been just put him on the edge and let him rush the passer all day and all night. They don't think that he can do that that's why I asked you about the size. He was listed at 222 pounds last year. If he's the same thing, they don't feel comfortable, obviously, putting him with his hand down in the dirt every down and just rushing the passer. And they're not gonna use him in spot duty. He's gonna be a starter. Okay, right. So I'm with you. To make this work, he's got to be able to cover also. I'm not saying he's primarily in coverage. I still want him primarily as a pass rusher, but if he's going to play in space like that, he's got to be able to do both. And I know he can run, but I don't know.
And a lot of that, man, would be understanding, man, of just understanding where your help is and where your help is not in those positions. My son plays similar position, so it's always that I would tell him, knowing the defense and understanding where they, like at LSU, I was talking about this triangle, offensively triangle, defensively cutting down that triangle, right? So if I have them in this triangle and I have a Weeks and I have a Perkins and I got one in the flat, I have someone else posting the side on a snag route, and I have a curl. So I developed that triangle. Well, how are you going to defeat that triangle as a Harold Perkins, Harold Wink Weeks, or as our defensive coordinator? And that's, to me, is the biggest thing that they have to work on this offseason. Well, not offseason, but going into camp with him, is deciding where exactly is the best fit for you in this scheme.
Yeah, this scheme that is going to have, now, follow along here with me. At corner, okay, Ashton Stamps is back.
Yep.
Jakeem Jackson played at Florida last year. Mansour Delane played at Virginia Tech last year.
All those guys, I've seen all of them.
Okay, good. A.J. Halsey from Houston was an all-conference player there. Tamarcus Cooley from NC State, who had a very good freshman year there. Deshaun Spears, who I like an awful lot from Denham Springs, played some, even started some at the beginning of last year.
He should be better.
Javian Toviano, who played some last year, but sort of, in and out of the lineup. And Jordan Gilbert, who played the whole year, but I didn't think had a very good year.
No.
I just named about 8 guys that figure prominently into LSU's
and
coverage.
The big fella.
And DJ Pickett.
Yes.
Well, I was sort of saving him. But none of these guys played together last year. And some of these guys weren't here in the spring either. So you got 3 weeks to figure this out. And if you got a lot of good players, Ro, but do you have a good unit? Do you have a unit that communicates? Do you have a unit that is not going to have a lot of buzz? And that includes Perkins at the star.
They're gonna be much better. That secondary is no question in my damn mind. From what I've seen this offseason, that freshman Pickett is going to be phenomenal. I don't know if he becomes phenomenal this year, right? I think he starts out – because, listen, bro, it's the SEC. It's still the best. I don't care if you're a 20,000 star and you come into this league, you're going to have growing pains. What's he got
to learn first?
Well –
because he's not a physical, he's got all of that.
He got all the ability.
What's he got to learn first?
I think, honestly, is understanding that you're in the SEC. It's a mentality. I think that's
okay.
The
Let's say
biggest thing.
Let's say he's got that. What techniques is he going to struggle with?
This kid has been. He's a big, tall guy, so you would think that he would struggle with small, quicker guys in and out of cuts coming out. But let me I'll be honest with you, man. I've seen this kid. I actually know his family. I've seen this kid come from his time he stepped here and started working with Corey at Elite and over here. Seen him a bunch of practices and so on and so forth. He's different. He's a different kid. I can't say, hey, this is what is going to break him down to this. But with guys of that stature, it's always double moves, right? It's always double moves. So understanding where your help is there. There's always a short, quick guys. But honestly, Hanny, man, like all those guys, if you pointed out, if they communicate and they come together, because the talent is there. Yeah. The talent is no question is there.
Well, let me go back to a guy you played with who was not primarily a corner but became one and became a great one in Corey Webster. Corey Webster was a quarterback in high school, and he was a receiver his first year. Was in that Alabama game where you threw for 500 yards. He had 100 yards. But he became an NFL cornerback.
Coach Saban.
Okay, so what did he have to learn? When you saw Corey Webster transfer from the guy who was with your receiving core, go over to the other side of the ball and become an NFL guy in just a couple of years.
See, Webb was already a great athlete.
And this kid is too, right?
Yeah. See, Webb was a great athlete, so for great and pick, that's DJ is. And for those guys, they make it look easy, and it's not easy. It's hard as hell. And for C. Webb, I remember when C. Webb didn't want to go to the other side of the ball. He wanted to stay over there. And he ended up talking to Coach Saban. We ended up convincing him, yes, go on the other side of the ball because that's where your opportunity was to play the most, and that's where we needed his ball skills. So his ball skills were tremendous. Off top, he going to high point, he going to go get it. C. Webb's biggest thing was getting out of the back pedal and transitioning and coming downhill.
Yeah.
That was his biggest thing. He always gave him so much cushion because – whether he did not believe in his speed enough, which he was fast as hell, or he just didn't believe, he didn't want anybody to get by him. But his biggest transition, I remember Coach Saban always saying this is, you got to pop and get out that back foot and come on down. So that was one of the biggest things I know C. Webb had to learn. But C. Webb was really good at it because he played wide receiver, so he understood combinations. He understood combo routes. He understood I got somebody going to field. I got to have somebody coming inside my zone. So he understood all that. And the same thing I see with the young kid Pickett, man. If those guys that C. Webb and Brian Kelly and them brought in from the portal, if they could communicate, and I see it, I definitely believe they can, they're going to be phenomenal.
Now, here's what I thought you were going to tell me about DJ Pickett. I thought you were going to tell me that the first thing he's got to work on is his footwork.
Nah.
Because he's so tall.
I know.
And because at the high school level, he was better than everybody he played against. It would be easy to take the wrong step. And if you take a wrong half step, to your point, in the SEC, you beat. Okay?
But that's with any of them.
Yeah.
But
this anybody got to play.
From watching him, though, and seeing how he been working with his feet are good, man.
Okay.
His feet are good. Now, to your point, yes, you can't put it in the wrong place against some of these dynamic guys that you're going to be facing 100%. But I see him holding his own with whoever he goes up against.
I think you're right. I want to see him. I got no doubt as to his ability. Just we don't see many 6'4" cornerbacks at any level, really. So I'm anxious to see that. We'll take a break here at Mike Anderson's. We got a few more topics we want to discuss with Roe as LSU reports today. Getting ready to get on the practice field tomorrow. Roe's ready to play, man. Live at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget, First, Second, No Class brought to you each and every Tuesday, by our friends over at Supreme Rice. Make every meal supreme, whether it's their medium grain rice, the long grain rice, the medium brown grain rice, or the jasmine rice. That jasmine rice, what is it? It's a premium variety of rice developed by right here on campus at the LSU Rice and Research Center. Maybe that's why Schmitty chose LSU. Jasmine has the aroma of popcorn and nut-like flavor. It's an excellent choice for stir-fry, salad, stuffing, pilafs, and desserts. You can learn more about this premium American-grown rice at supremerice.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we're brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors. When it comes to retirement, no two situations are alike. Select Coastal Capital Advisors. CoastalCapitalADV.com. Do for you what they've done for our family, which is give you some peace of mind and get a plan towards retirement to be your lifetime partners. CoastalCapitalADV.com. They'll take you no matter what portion of your life you're at, no matter what your income level is, no matter what your age is. They'll be able to get a plan that is perfect for you and your family. Talk to Phil Fondo and his great staff. Again, CoastalCapitalADV.com. Member FINRA SIPC. I want to ask you about Chris Hilton, Roe. So we know about the injury history and all of that. When he came back last year, I wasn't, especially after the first couple of games where the timing was really off for him, I wasn't expecting a lot at the end of the season. I said, well, it's going to take an off season. I really thought in the last two games it started to come together for him that he was fully healthy for the first time in a while, that his timing was back. Early on, they kept trying to hit him with deep shots. He was jumping. The timing was there. But I thought it started to come together at the end there, and it's been a healthy off season. I think he's gotten past that point where you come back and you're worried about getting hurt.
So
at
do
least
I.
It seems like
So
it.
do I.
Yeah. It could be a really, really big season for him, a money season for him.
Listen, I mean, I got goosebumps right now because I've seen Chris over the years train with my partner, Ken Anio Jr. Trains all those guys out of Zachary and just in Louisiana in general. But, bro, I am so just excited for Chris Hilton. When you see a guy as talented as he is, as good a person and kid as he is, great family. Shout out to his little brother at USA Track. He's doing phenomenal too. But, bro, when you see a Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, the late Kyron Lacey, and all these great receivers, even before those guys, and he's in that mold, right? He's in that mold of those guys with the same gifts, hands, speed, all that. And now to see him at the end of the year last year put it together and get an opportunity to catapult himself into a great offseason and come into this season where, bro, if he stays healthy and that line comes together, I'm not even worried about Nussmeier, honestly, because I believe that he's on a trajectory to where he could do just some magical things this season if he stays on the trajectory he is and that line comes together. But to see Chris get this opportunity and to know that he is a first-round talent, to know that he's been a first-round talent, and now he has the opportunity to show it by staying healthy and not just having all the focus on him, because there's guys around him, to help take the pressure and to leave that. But the one thing you can't coach, bro, when they let it go and say go get it, he's going to go get it.
Last year when he did get back into the lineup in the second half of the season, he was LSU's over-the-top threat. They have more than one of those this year, so that takes some of the pressure off him. If there's one stat I want to see for him this year, I give you the number 12. Give me 12 games. Yep. If he plays all 12 games, I think he's going to have a phenomenal. Even if he plays 10 out of 12 games, I think he's going to have he had such a dramatic effect on. I thought, I'll be honest with you, through the first 3 or 4 games when he came back last year and they were trying to force him the ball and his time and whatnot, I said, they're making too big of a deal out of this. They're trying to force this.
That's right.
It's not there. It's not what they don't have what they think they got. And then I was proven wrong in the last 2 games because, they do have it. It just wasn't ready yet.
That's right. And for me, that is where when we talk about Sloan coming into this year in his second stint with the offensive coordinator, the weapons around him that they do have, that is why it's so important for me that him and Nuss is on the same page, because you guys have a plethora of receivers, and there's a plethora of things that you can do differently if the game isn't going your way because of the guys that you do have. You talked about the no huddle earlier. With a guy that could go over the top and take it over the top, man, listen, there's no way you can't have a Chris Hilton or a Berrien on the same side and they taking the top off the coverage. There's nobody in this space.
They run the same.
There's nobody
they run the
here.
Same time, bro.
So you have
these
to.
Are 4-3 guys.
That's what I'm telling you. There's nobody here, and they don't respect this space. And you have somebody else coming into that space. If you don't have a safety over the top with a safety coming back over to take away one goal, one post, and now there's nobody in the flat, and you run somebody else underneath. Who's going to cover that?
Don't they have to play double high?
You have to.
You got to play too high.
You have to.
And
that's why it's so important for Sloan, man, this year. This is his year where these guys stay healthy. You should see record numbers as far as reception. You should have a guy with 1,000 yards. You should have a guy with 1,000. You should have a guy with 800. You should have a guy with 800. You should have a guy with 500. That's how much they have offensively.
Well, this is what I can see. I can imagine is that you've got Hilton on one side, and you've got Brown or Anderson on the other side, and then you got Aaron Anderson in the slot. Well, good luck. If you do play too high and you do take these guys down the field, the amount of room that is opened up underneath.
One of the most terrifying things this year for opposing defenses when they come to play LSU, one of the most terrifying things in their life should see us in no huddle. Should see us with an empty backfield, but still have Durham a part of the pass game because he has really good hands. It should our screen game should be phenomenal. I really mean that. Whether it's to Durham, the backs, Caden, or it's to our wide receivers. Our screen game should be good.
They have not spent a lot of time on that, though.
We need to.
Well, if they do, they can. But they have that screen game requires a lot of reps, and they have in the past they haven't dedicated the amount of reps to that screen game. Now they may this time. I'm with you. I would love to see it, but hadn't seen that yet. Maybe that's the wrinkle. Maybe that's the wrinkle that explodes this year. We'll take our final time out here at Mike Anderson Seafood. Wesley at Nicholson Live at Lunch 104.5. ESPN Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge.
Some news from down at Saints camp. Special teams ace JT Gray back at practice today, but Kellen Moore says he is week to week with a hamstring injury, so it doesn't appear to be anything too serious, but JT Gray is what Kellen Moore is calling week to week with a hamstring injury. 2 days away from the start of the preseason for the NFL. Saints will be next week. Not worried. Of all the things in the entire Saints camp, Max, I would tell you that the thing I'm most sure of is JT Gray will be a great special teams player.
Yeah, he's arguably the best player they have. You know, when you look at Pro Bowlers, I mean, he's
the least amount of question marks. JT Gray. Anyway, a little hamstring injury there. All right, Ro, you managed to get me pretty fired up today. I ain't gonna lie. First day of camp is they just reporting today, and then tomorrow they get out on the practice field. In fact, we're looking for a practice schedule right now, but. It is exciting, and I know that August is going to be a long month. The anticipation of what's coming up here. But if you, as a former player, are excited, and know the fans are excited, and Brian Kelly has done nothing but talk up this group, and that confidence level is there. So now we just got to see it. They got to put 4 good weeks of work in, getting into game week, and here we go.
They got to do a good job, and Jack Marucci and that training staff does a great job of how they bring these guys along, how they give them their rest, how they keep them hydrated. So that's the other big thing, man. We got to come out this thing fairly clean. Going through this camp situation,
I feel good about that. That was something I always worried about with Les. Was at camp, you just kind of hold your breath especially in the week leading up to game week, if he just beat on him a little bit too much. I worry less about that now than I used to.
So do I.
The Saints are putting on a clinic down there about recuperation day. Devon Gottschall, who I know was talking about that today. He's like, man, I am a big fan of what they're doing. This is allowing my body to get right.
I bet he is.
So good to see you, Ro, man. We'll talk
Always
to you
a pleasure,
next week.
friend.
Thanks for coming out. Jimmy may be back next week, I think.
May not.
The vacation. For Max, for Rohan, for Jordan back in the studio, and all of us here at Mike Anderson.
Live at lunch.
Thank you and good afternoon.
By now you know that we do our show every